Hey, what's up, everyone? I am your host, Sethi.
I am stylist Rashi Bindra.
Elevated Grapes is a digital media hub that includes a talk show, event correspondence, and digital hosting for partner projects.
The talk show which you are listening to or watching, depending what you're doing, covers topics in fashion, business, and lifestyle.
We regularly have incredible guests that share their stories, their experiences, and tips on the above topics.
And when we don't, you get to hear how we talk to each other off air.
So subscribe to your favorite streaming site, YouTube, and Instagram for behind the scenes and additional visual content.
Let's jump right into the show. Welcome to Elevated Grapes.
This is the Elevated Grapes Podcast.
Elevated Grapes Podcast.
With your host, Seth. And stylist, Rashi Bindra.
It's time to get started.
Let's talk fashion, shall we? Celebrated session hairstylist Sam Mcknight is the hairdresser's hairdresser. He boasts a legendary career spanning over 4 decades, encompassing catwalk editorial and advertising campaigns for fashion houses such as Chanel, Fendi, Balmain, Burberry, and Tom Ford. A regular contributor to both British and international Vogues, W, Harper's Bazaar, Vanity Fair, ID, and Love, he has over 100 covers to his name from British Vogue alone. Mcknight is also a contributing beauty editor at the British Vogue.
Mcknight has collaborated with some of the world's most prominent photographers, including Patrick Demarchelier, Mario Testino, and Nick Knight. A longtime stylist for the late Princess Diana, Mcknight was the creative behind her iconic short slick black hairstyle in the now famous 1990 Demarchelier shoot for British Vogue, a partnership that led him to becoming her personal hairstylist for 7 years. One of the original session stylists, Mcknight initially trained as a teacher before working as an assistant at a local hairdresser in his native Scotland. Moving to London in the early 1970s, Mcknight secured a position at Malton Brown, which at the time was a leading hair salon in London's South Malton Street. He worked on projects for London-based magazines 19 and Honey before landing his first editorial shoot with British Vogue in 1977. While working in London, he was introduced to stylist Liz Tilburis, the late editor of British Vogue and Harper's Bazaar US, and Luciander Chambers, who were instrumental in hiring him for high-profile editorial shoots.
Mcknight has been bestowed the Lifetime Achievement Award at both the Scottish Fashion Awards and Creative Head Awards 2015. He is hugely respected within the hairdressing community and is often cited as a source of inspiration or named as the hairstylist I would most like to work with by his peers. On November 2nd, 2016, Somerset House launched Hair by Sam Mcknight, a major exhibition celebrating Mcknight's impressive career. Never before has an exhibition of this kind taken place, looking at hair from a new perspective and celebrating the significant role of session hairstyling in both fashion and culture throughout the decades. The unprecedented approach, seeing hair from an insider perspective, and celebrating the significant role of session hair in styling in both fashion and culture throughout the decades, garnered record attendance and brought Sam and his world to a wider audience. In tandem, Mcknight also released his first book, Hair by Sam Mcknight, a hardback anthology of his magazine covers, editorial shoots, and personal insights into his working at the heart of the fashion industry.
June 2017 saw Mcknight launch a brand, Hair by Sam Mcknight, in Liberty of London, injecting fashion, glamour, and ease into hairstyle and styling. The collection is the accumulation of Mcknight's knowledge and experience in the industry, giving women the tools and confidence to style their hair themselves.
Recent awards for Sam include the Isabella Blow Award for Fashion Creator at the British Fashion Awards in 2019, Creative Head Most Wanted Legend for Hair Icon 2021, Creative Head Most Wanted Hair Icon 2014, 2017, and 2019, Creative Head Most Wanted for Legend for Session Stylist in 2015, and Creative Head Most Wanted for Session Stylist 2012, 13, and 14. The legend status of these awards have been given to Sam after being honored 3 times previously for each. So with that, Sam, welcome to the show.
Hello.
So Sam, again, thank you for taking the time to join us. We're going to jump right in because we want our listeners to learn about you, and there's a lot of story to tell where you're concerned. So you've changed what the definition is, what it means to be a hairdresser, from working in high fashion runways to the late Princess Diana to being a regular contributor for Vogue. Can you tell us how this journey began for you?
Oh God, this journey began for me a very long time ago in I was a hairdresser in my native Scotland in my early 20s, and I came to live in London in 1975. And London in 1975 was kind of pretty run down. It was pretty, it was only 30 years after the war, and it was really in the process of recovery. And it was pretty, dirty, bankrupt city. And a bit like New York was, a bit like lots of places, and it was having a rebirth. And it already had a rebirth in the 60s, but that was in a very small way. There's someone famous, I don't know who it was, said that swinging London in the 60s, there were only about 200 people that were part of that. And that's probably an exaggeration, but it was a very small kind of elitist thing. But by the 70s, it had kind of exploded. And I had been to London a few times on holiday, and I just loved it. And so I moved here in 75. I worked in a couple of salons, and I ended up working in the late 70s in the hottest salon in town, which happened to be around the corner from Vogue House. So I got to do a few shoots for Vogue. The first one, because someone was sick or hadn't shown up, the usual way you get into doing something. But then really there weren't very many magazines. There were probably 3 or 4 magazines that shot high fashion in England. Vogue, Harper's, Honey magazine, Cosmopolitan, there really weren't very many. And the fashion business was very small. And I think in 1978 or 9, I did the hair for a show for the Emmanuels, who actually went on to design Princess Diana's wedding dress. So, but at that show, I think there were 10 models, and I had 2 assistants. So it was not for the public. It was very, there were small trade shows, in fact, just with maybe 20, 30, 40 journalists and press there. That was it, fashion editors. And so I kind of got to do things like that out of the salon. And then I saw that there was a whole different world out there, a world that I had seen in the pages of Vogue. And just being sort of a very small part of that world was magic for me. And I quickly realized that that's what I wanted to do, even though I didn't know the business was huge. It wasn't, it was small to start with, but I had no way of knowing that the business was going to evolve into this massive machine that it is now. So it was kind of great to be in there at the beginning of something.
Well, being on the grassroots of the massive entities and the massive icons that these fashion houses you're speaking of had to really be an amazing feeling when you go back and look at it, through like a rear view mirror, and seeing that the role you played in the growth of some of these brands and obviously yours as well. So talk to us a little bit about that and how that sort of help you with your career as you continue to look back throughout the years, to the successes that both the groups that you're working with and for yourself.
I don't quite know what you're asking there. What's your question?
I'm looking to hear from you, that just sort of as part of the journey question, just to elaborate on, as you saw some of these successes happen, when you look back in the lens and say, these are some of the things that you did, as you mentioned, and they're so amazing and pivotal at the time. What that feeling was like when you saw some of the work, when you look back at it and saying, how forward thinking you guys were at the time and the impact it had on the industry.
Well, at the time, you don't really realize that. I mean, it's very different at the time to it is when you look back. Very different. Because at the time, I didn't realize what a difference we were making. I mean, you just think you're making small differences. You think, you go to work, you do the hair on a job for the day, And if people like it, that's great. If they don't, you're not going to see them again. You know, you kind of build a brand, build a business like that, just hoping that people will like what you do. You find teams to work with. And I would just happen to be around at the time of the rise of the supermodels. You know, I was around before the supermodels were even invented, you know, before when they were coming on Go Seas as Naomi Campbell as a 15-year-old. And no one really saw that coming. Nobody, whatever they say, you know. You may have seen it coming in a small way, but that had never happened before, and probably will never happen again. But when you're in it and doing it, you're just making great work. You're having a lot of fun. You're meeting great people and friends that you will have still to this day. It's only in retrospect when things collide, when the time is right, when the combination is right, the people, the opening up of first fashion on television, you know, Cindy's MTV stuff, and then moving on to internet. You know, there's been so many different steps, and I mean, none of us ever saw it. If you saw that coming, you'd be very scared. You know, you'd actually be really intimidated. You know, that would be terrifying.
Absolutely.
And in retrospect, it kind of is a bit terrifying, because I mean, you don't really like to look back too much. Of course, I've had an amazing time, and I've met the most incredible people. And I think for me, that's what I carry with me always is the people and the relationships I've made. That's very, very special and very dear to my heart, because I'm still really good friends with many of those people that I met in the late 70s even, you know. And but as to, I don't really dwell on looking back. I think it's quite funny when you look back. You think, oh my God, did that really happen? And if that hadn't happened, then it wouldn't have led to that. And some things you think, oh God, if I had done that, I probably wouldn't have done that. But retrospect is a funny old thing to do. It's something that I look back on with joy. I don't look back on with any regrets. You know, I mean, it's regrets. I've had a few, but you know, not too few to mention. It's just I've been very fortunate. I have been very lucky, and that's one of the main things that I carry with me too. I mean, I did a book and an exhibition 4 years ago, and maybe 5 years ago. We did a big major exhibition retrospective in London, and a book came out from Rizzoli. So I had to go through 40 years worth of work, and that was I mean, it was really intimidating to start with, because I think we had 40-something thousand images to go through. So my whole house was covered in boards with images. And when you look at these images, of course, they've been in boxes for years. I don't sit going through my sort of work of a night with a cup of tea. I don't. But the book kind of came about because people would send me images on Instagram. When I started doing Instagram, old images would come up, and you think, oh my God, I'd forgotten about that one. And then you start remembering the day very quickly. I remember the day, I remember who was there. You know, some of them I haven't seen for 30 years, and then suddenly you're reconnecting on social media. And that's been a real kick for me. I've absolutely loved it. I've loved that part of social media. It's been a joy. Getting in touch with people that I haven't seen for many years, and even meeting them, you know, after all these, it's been just fantastic. And where am I going with this? The thing about it is you're working very closely with people, and you kind of build bonds with people. And I look at images, and sometimes you look at it and you realize that person is no longer with us. Maybe the photographer is no longer with us, the model, whatever. Mm-hmm. Or something's happened and it's kind of sad, but you remember all the good times as well. It's full, chock full of memories, good and bad, but mostly good. And so that was doing that, and looking back was quite an emotional experience that I never really want to do again. You know, I would never want it. Someone said, "Oh, why don't you do another book?" And no, I'm not doing that again. Not that kind of retrospective book anyway. I've done that, and it's there, and I'm very, very proud of when before it went to the publisher, the guy who was art directing, Miles, he said, "Do you?" He wasn't art directing. He was kind of helping me with it. You could scrub that bit. When I'd finished the book, my friend who was working on it with me said, "Okay, are you happy with it? When you see this book, what do you think?" And I said, "I'm really happy. I'm really proud of it. And so it can go to print. It's fine." And that was a really nice, it was a nice way to, because it's like having your life in front of you. I mean, it's weird, but it was a nice way to kind of close it. And then I never looked at it again. That was it.
That walk down memory lane must have been nice. And as you said, every picture you've been involved with, every picture you're seeing has such a vast story behind it for you, because the people involved and the memories that are involved with them.
Yeah, God, memories. That's all we have in the end, isn't it? Really,
Absolutely.
Memories. It's all we have, and you know, good and bad. But luckily, as I said, mostly very, very good. I mean, it's about the relationships. I always say that my job is never just me. It's a collaboration. Can I take my glasses off, or is that really bad?
No, absolutely. You're good. You're good.
It's a collaboration. It's about me and a team. It's my assistants. I mean, I never had an assistant still. I'd been in the business for 15 years. We weren't allowed. We couldn't afford them. So it's about the makeup. It's about the editor. It's about the photographer. It's about the subject, the model, the actress, the whoever. And it's about that team of people making an image, and making an image that works, that everyone's happy with. And that's a process. And it still is a process. It's still the same. That hasn't changed what we do. But it's something that, it's not a solitary craft. It's a collaborative. It's a collaboration.
And that's very, very true. I will be honest, I've not been able to find a copy of your book here. I have looked for it. So
I think it's probably out of print now. Yeah.
Yes, I've not been able to find a copy. But I do know your work has spoken volumes over time, and anybody who's in this industry, just because you're not a hairdresser per se, you do still learn from, like you said, the team of people that you work with and the way they do their craft. You know, before we even talk more about your book and the other things you've done, I did want to ask a very simple question. Did you always know you wanted to go into the hair industry, like to be like a hair artist?
Oh God, no, not at all. I didn't know at all. It was something that I was at school. I went to college. I was going to be a teacher. I was going to teach school kids, and I actually hated being at college. I was not enjoying it at all. I needed to get out of education. I decided, and I thought I went on a few teaching jobs, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I thought, I don't want to do this. So I helped out some friends who had a restaurant, they had a disco, they had a hairdressing salon, they had all these different businesses, and I helped them out. And I for some reason ended up in the hairdressing salon. It was something that at the time in a little town in Scotland felt, suddenly everyone in the hairdressing salon and the restaurant, it felt very glamorous. It felt like a glamorous, beautiful world that I was part of. And I got stuck to that. And so I came in sideways by accident, like all the best things are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's it. Sometimes things find you versus you finding them.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I mean, I think whatever I had done, I would probably have found my way into the fashion business somehow. But who knows? Who knows?
So from a little town in Scotland, a little salon in Scotland, to the rest of the world, Sam Mcknight is making his mark. We're going to take a quick break on that note. This is Elevated Grapes. We're chatting with the legendary Sam Mcknight, and we'll be right back.
Hi everyone, I'm stylist Rashid Bindra. Do not forget to follow us on Instagram as Elevated Grapes and show some love. Okay, so everybody, welcome back. We are talking to Sam Mcknight, who is a global, I want to say phenomenon in the hair industry world, but I do feel like it's just not enough to describe all the amazing work he's done and who he is as a person. So we'll just jump right in the question. And so, Sam, we were talking about how you did not know that you always wanted to be an hair artist, and it's something that looked very glamorous, and you did not like teaching, and you just kind of like found that way and went into there. But did you have any challenges as you started entering this industry as an actual profession?
Um, yeah, I mean, don't we all have challenges every day? I mean, isn't that what life's about? It's
It
constant.
is.
Absolutely.
If you don't have challenges, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to stay the same. You know, I suppose in retrospect, looking back, it's about. I suppose it's a mindset of probably subliminally looking for challenges or searching them out and kind of never being quite comfortable with what happened yesterday, wanting to do something better tomorrow. And I think that's probably just my mindset. So, you know, as soon as something gets unchallenging, I kind of want to do something that is more challenging. I mean, we just launched a brand a couple of years ago, and um, we're about to go even bigger soon. So that's been a challenge I embraced. Sorry, that's been a challenge I embraced during lockdown, because during lockdown, I mean, I never spent so much time at home in my life, and I must say I've loved not traveling. Because I've been traveling for 40 years, and I mean, I know it's been difficult for many people, but the not traveling thing for me has been a bit of a revelation. It's given me time to actually focus. And I mean, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it really gave me time to focus and to kind of look at myself and say, okay, at my age, what am I doing? What have I done for the last few years? What do I want to do different? Because when we're on the machine, I mean, it's a wonderful machine, but when we're on it, it's repetitive, you know, in that, you know, the show season, the editorial, and it's wonderful. And it's been wonderful to me, but I felt like I've been feeling I need something else. I need something else. And I think that mindset has been with me since the beginning. So for me, it was about, I saw this chink in the door or the curtain to get into the business in the late 70s. And I think in 1980, a challenge presented itself. The owner of the salon, which was Moulton Brown in London, decided that he didn't want his staff out doing photo shoots anymore, because obviously it wasn't making money for the salon, and I understood that. So that was a challenge. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this by the horns. I'm going to leave the salon, and I'm just going to be freelance. Now, that was a very kind of unheard of thing in the UK back then, because most hair was done by people from salons. There were hair and makeup people who did TV commercials and things, but in the fashion business, it was very much you were from a salon and you went out to do photo shoots. So I took a huge risk. But the thing is about having a skill is that skill's never going to leave you. And I thought, okay, if it doesn't work out, I can always go back. I can always do private clients, which I did to keep me going for many years. Some of whom I still see to this day. And so that was a challenge, and I decided I would rise to that challenge. And then a year or two later, Brian Bantry in New York saw some stuff I had done for British Vogue and asked to see me, and I went to see them. And I ended up moving to New York I was there for many years. I mean, I did backwards and forwards, so I was never permanently in New York, but there was a time when I spent a lot of time in New York. And that was a challenge for you know, relatively inexperienced, but very, very keen, very enthusiastic young hairdresser in this big city of New York, which I embraced and I loved. And so that was the real beginning for me, and that was in '82, and by '85 we had started to, I'd been working with people like Brooke Shields and Christy Brinkley and those girls. I mean, I actually did the video for Uptown Girl when I was one of my first jobs in New York.
Seriously?
And,
wow.
I did. And so there were, and Andrea Quinn Robinson, who is a wonderful, wonderful editor. She was a beauty editor at American Vogue, championed me and booked me for lots of things. So I think if you show a lot of enthusiasm and you really want to be there and you really want to do stuff and you're really up for a challenge, people will be attracted to you and people will let you in, I discovered. And I learned that pretty quickly. And I just went on from there. And then from then on, it was being in the right time at the right place.
That is amazing. And you know what, to be honest, a lot of people that we speak to, they do end up saying, they have a very similar way of saying,
I'm sure. Yeah.
You know what, if you have that drive, that's one thing. If you are open to, again, receiving the challenges and the curveballs that are thrown at you and taking those chances, somehow the right people find you at the time you're ready to embrace them.
Yeah.
Right. And having, Brian Bantry find you, they're one of the biggest agencies.
I know.
And it's, I mean, it's an
and
agency.
I'm still with these guys to this day.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how I, found you and then spoke to Lindsay.
Yeah.
But they're like one of those agencies where anybody, whether you're any sort of artist in this field, you aspire to be with them. That's how amazing they are at building that talent.
Let's not make any bones about it. I was very lucky as well. There's a lot of luck attached to it,
Yes.
There's ambition, drive, skills, all those kind of things, but there's also an awful lot of luck involved. But that luck, you a lot of time, not always, you kind of make your own luck. You put yourself out there. You put yourself out there and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a great believer in, I'm putting it out there. Something will come along, and something else will come, and it inevitably does because I want it to,
Yeah.
I have faith, I guess. I have faith in other people, and I have faith in things going right,
But I think some of that shows through, like in your personality too. Like you put the energy in, your energy gets back the energy you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And again, yes, it's not like that's going to work in every single story.
I think I learned that too. I think I learned that sometimes, in retrospect, after some of that, I probably shouldn't have behaved like that. So what I tried to do is learn from that. You make a few mistakes,
sure,
and you obviously can't make everyone like you. And I learned that too. You just cannot make everyone like. That's fine. That's okay, and that's okay.
Of course,
you don't need to beat yourself up about that. You kind of move on. I think for me, it's always about moving on and not getting stuck with someone or stuck inside. I have a kind of little red light that goes on. You know what? I'm kind of stuck here. Time to move on. I don't mean burn bridges, but kind of just move on.
Oh, absolutely.
The world moves on. Everything moves on. So you have to move with it.
I think one of the pivotal moments for you, and you mentioned it earlier, was taking that risk of leaving, quote unquote, the security of the salon and moving into doing more of a freelance type of work, where again that wasn't the norm back then, or it wasn't what most people would do in the industry. What was your sentiments at the time in terms of, like, was there a fear, was there anxiety, was there excitement, and also what was the feedback you were getting from other professionals in the industry when you told them this is what you're looking to do?
God, it was a long time ago. It was 40 years ago. I think a lot of my friends were, we were all young. And we'd, oh yeah, you do that, great, good, yeah, oh yeah, great. Because things were cheap. Rent was cheap. My
Right.
car was cheap. You know, nothing cost a lot of money back then. It wasn't like today. You walk out the door, you're spending money. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
We were talking about that today with a friend. I think my rent was £11 a week or something.
Oh my
split
goodness.
between three.
Wow.
So, you
So
know,
£3 a week, 3.5
was
pounds a
nothing.
week.
So I didn't have huge expenses. And I drove around cutting hair, and then I would maybe do one freelance job one week, two the next week. And I thought, you know what, I can make this work. It's okay. I'll make it work one way or another. I think it's having that attitude. I don't think anyone was really shocked, because I was in my 20s, and you do a lot of stuff in your 20s, you know, and yeah.
So yeah, and the reason I asked that question, because I think that's still a challenge for some people in this day and age, is leaving. I mean, obviously, like you said, costs are a little bit different, but even then, leaving something where you feel like you're getting that steady paycheck because you're following a passion or dream, and you have trust in yourself that you can make it, right? So I think that same sentiment or question is still a challenge.
Well,
for
in a way, I didn't know what making it was. I just thought I'd go in this new world and see what happens, and maybe it'll come to something. But all I knew was I don't want to be in a salon cutting 12 clients' hair a day, because that's too repetitive and boring for me. And that, Jim, without being mean to people who work in salons, they do a great job, and I have total respect for them. But I realized that this is not for me. This isn't for me. And I thought, okay, this is this new world. I don't know what this world is, but let's see what exists. Let's see what's behind this curtain. I'm always curious to see what's behind the curtain, you know, and quite often it's just more curtain, or it's kind of, you know, but it's always good to have a look, because you may just want to go behind there and change it all up, you know, or make your mark. I don't know. I just want to see what's next.
Yes.
I'm really curious like that. And to go back to what you were saying about people nowadays having, you know, a little fear of giving up their security. The thing is, like I said before, things are so expensive now. I mean, life is far more expensive and risky than it was back then. It really was. I mean, we were saying today how it'd be really difficult for people now to do what I did back then, you know, to kind of just, I'm just going to do that, because people have big bills now.
Yes. It is.
So it takes maybe a little, maybe, I don't know, a little more guts and determination. I don't know what it takes. But you kind of, but like I said, once you've learned a skill, that's not going to leave you. So you can always go back to the salon or something. But I think, I don't know about in the States, but in the UK, salons are much more in tune with people doing photographic work now. Okay. They see the benefit of someone coming. For instance, I have sometimes 30 assistants on shows when we do the show season, when we have lots of models, we have a lot of assistants. And a lot of them will come from salons. Mm-hmm. And then they'll take what they've learned back to the salon, and it's a symbiotic relationship, you know, it works really well. So I think in that respect, times have changed, because back then, even in the 80s and 90s, the salon world didn't really know what we did. It was a kind of alien culture, really. Probably thought we were a bit snooty or whatever. But I think it's a much more, it's a two-way street now. It works both ways.
Fair enough. We're chatting with the legendary Sam Mcknight. Sam, thank you for continuing to instill insight and sharing your journey with us. We're going to take a quick break and come right back and learn some more. Hey guys, it's your host Sethi. We're also on TikTok, so make sure you follow us there at Elevated Grapes. Cheers, and back to the show.
So everybody, we are chatting with Sam Mcknight, the legendary hair artist. And when I say legendary, the next question that I'm going to ask him and what we're going to talk about, you guys will know why I am saying this. So Sam, I know our listeners would love to know this. I know I personally would love to know this, given our previous conversation. What was it like to work with the late and beautiful Princess Diana, and how did that happen for you?
Well, that happened in July 1990, which I guess makes it 31 years ago. Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? I was on a shoot for British Vogue in London with Patrick Demarchelier, the photographer, and we were shooting a few of the young British royals for British Vogue, and I didn't know who was going to show up. I mean, I wasn't told. It was just we were on a job that was a kind of normal job for us, shooting portraits of gorgeous young women. And we had the lovely Sarah Armstrong-Jones, and we had Helen Windsor, and we had my friend Victoria, who had married Princess Diana's brother. And then, you know, this final lady comes bouncing up the stairs in this sort of warehouse studio in East London. And this sort of 5'11" blonde. And we were all, the Mary Greenwell, the makeup as an artist, and myself were kind of, oh, hi, yeah. And you know what? I wasn't really a royalist. I wasn't really a fan, or I wasn't really that much aware of it, to be honest. So it was, you know, she kind of stuck her hand out with a big smile and disarmed us straight away, and was really funny and friendly, and just let us kind of take the blue eyeliner off. Mary took the blue eyeliner off, and we kind of, I guess we modernized her a bit. We kind of, because it was 1990 and the 80s frou-frou had kind of gone. And we kind of, I made her hair look a bit shorter, and kind of, I faked it with a tiara. It's a very famous picture now. I have a fridge magnet of it. And she sat on the floor in this white satin dress, and it became an iconic image. And as she was leaving, she was getting ready to go, she said, what would you do with my hair if I just said do anything? And I said, I would cut it all off and start again, you know, because it was kind of, we were getting into that very sharp sort of androgynous, you know, smart business era of the 90s. Things were getting serious and real, you know? Yes. And the big frilly frou-frou 80s was gone. And you don't forget, I was working with Vogue, and I'd been at the cutting edge of things for quite a long time. So we were all thinking forward always. Yes. And you know, it'd be great if you just cut it off. So she said, let's do it now. So, you know, off went her hair. And I didn't really realize how the press were about her in England, because I was traveling all the time. And then the next day was just mayhem. It was just, and I'd gone straight to Paris to shoot couture, and we were just amazed that these people could be so interested in someone's haircut. I mean, I didn't cut it from waist length to short. It was a couple of inches. It wasn't sort of, you know, I didn't think it was life-changing, but apparently it was. Yeah. And I don't know, she obviously liked what happened. So she asked me to go on a tour with her. I think the first one was to Pakistan, which was really amazing. And I said, yeah, I'd like to do that. And I had a little bit of an interview with Patrick, her private secretary. I said, you know, would you be able to go on international trips? And I said, yeah, I've been doing that for the last 10 years. Yes, it's exactly what I do. So what happened was I actually took charge of her hair for the next 7 years. I mean, we had a couple of lovely girls in London who would do it when I wasn't there, because I was obviously charged on and traveling a lot, and she didn't mind that. So again, there was a challenge there. I was tempted to say, no, I couldn't really give you the time, but thank you very much. And then I thought, you know what? Again, this is something else. This is a gift. This is an opportunity that to see a world that I would never have seen before, and meet amazing people, which was incredible. And this wonderful woman has given me an opportunity. Why am I going to say no? But I was going to say no, because I thought, well, I don't have any bloody time, you know, but let's make it work. And I don't know how I did it, across the Atlantic sort of multiple times a month, but I managed to, with the little help from those girls, I managed to make that work. And she really appreciated that. And we had a lovely, I hate to use the word journey, but it was a journey for 7 years, you know, and we went to the most incredible places. I went to India with her, to the Taj Mahal, and I mean, I actually spend half a day in Mother Teresa's in Calcutta with her.
Oh, wow.
Actually sitting around talking to people with leprosy, and being in the room where all the babies were, like 5 little babies in an incubator, because unmarried mothers are just leave the babies on the doorstep. I mean, it was harrowing for me, because I'm not a natural like she was. I'm not the natural sort of nurse doctor type. I would be in tears around the corner, but it was incredibly interesting, and meeting all these volunteers who would come from all over the world, and having chats with them. And then we would go, she took me, the Pakistan trip included a trip to a limb fitting center up near the Afghan border, because there was a problem with landmines, and that began her kind of mission with landmines. And there's an English newsreader had built a limb fitting center, because the landmines were put in kids' toys, so the kids picked them up, blew their arms and legs off, and these kids were being fitted from a charitable, obviously, from a charity. They were getting new arms and new legs, and it was incredible. And she brought the attention to that.
Yes.
And watching her doing stuff like that was just something I will treasure forever, because she was so amazing at it. And it's funny, we don't really see that much anymore. I guess, I don't know, do you see it, or is it just that it's not being shown to us? But she was a very magnetic, very special lady with a very special, I don't want to say talent, with a very special way of talking to people and making them feel that they mattered, you know, whether it was children or lepers or people who were dying in beds in Mother Teresa's. It was, or me, or anyone, you know, just they would make you feel that you were maybe not important, but that you actually mattered, you know. And that to me is and I see that in some people I meet sometimes, and I look at that and I take that on board, because some people have that naturally.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful attribute to have. And she really learned to use that to, not for her own gain, but to help people. And that was what she was all about.
Especially when someone who comes, you know, who's in that environment and can be easily swept into the embodiment of being part of a royal family, to her like still have that grounding of being, you know, especially with folks that are more challenged or dealing with things that are not easy to deal with, and for her to give them that comfort, just being that personable human being, I think is a challenge in a normal course. But you know, you add in sort of the levels that she has to manage on top of that, it's quite incredible.
Well, I guess I guess it probably was driven a lot by maybe the life that she was having. Right. Maybe that for her made that worthwhile, you know, for her, you know. So who knows? We'll never know, you know. But we could certainly do with a lot more people like that in the world. So that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about that. Just to take that point that you're talking about, you know, just balancing, and even, you know, some of these experiences that you were able to get through your passion and your work, you know, meeting, you know, people like that in India and seeing those types of environments and what other people are going through. I wanted to ask, just from a balanced perspective of managing your, you know, balancing your personal life and your professional life, because obviously you're traveling a lot, you're always on the go, there's so many things that are demanding of your time. What's your viewpoint on being able to chase all that and have that kind of work and passion and career life, and balancing that with your personal life? And is that even possible? Barring COVID, obviously.
I mean, if you want to give this your all, you do give up most of your personal life. I mean, I was never at weddings or any gatherings or anything. I would always miss them because I'd be away. But that's not just me. Anyone who's in my business, you take a job and you're gone for a week or two, and everything else is out the window, you know. So what I would do, I would squeeze a lot of fun time into the few days where I was at home. That's what I would do. But yeah, you do have to you do have to give up a lot.
That's
It
true.
doesn't come free. You have to go, but you know what? You gain a lot. It's okay. Swings and roundabouts. It's yeah, you've given up this, but you know what? Look what else I'm doing. You know, you can't have everything. No matter what the experts say, you can't have it all. You can have a bit of this and a bit of that, but you can't have it all.
Exactly. It's a bit of give and take. So we're trying to
Yeah,
get to legend.
but of course, but isn't life? It's just it's
Yeah.
give and take. That's what it is. Yeah.
We're chatting with the legendary Sam Mcknight. We're going to take another quick break, and we're going to come back and wrap up with a couple of key messages from Sam. And you are tuned in to Elevated Grapes on Ruckus Avenue Radio and Dash Radio. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this is Stylist Rashid Bindra. Do not forget to catch us on Ruckus Avenue. Also, you can hear us on the Dash Radio app every Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So welcome back. We're sitting down with the legendary Sam Mcknight, and he's been sharing a lot of fun experiences, a lot of good, interesting learnings from his experiences, and some great stories. So Sam, thank you for sharing all that with us. You launched a product line in 2017, and we just wanted to understand sort of where you expect that to go and what the thoughts are with that and what you expect next for your career.
Well, yeah, we did that in 2017, and I funded that myself because we were kind of trying to find products that were sort of light, that you could brush out, that were easy to use. We were finding everything that we used was a little heavy, and I thought, well, why don't I just do my own? So we did that. And, you know, I have not stopped working for the last whatever amount of years, and I was getting busier and busier and busier. So we kind of, I had been a little, let's say, unfocused on moving it forward. And when lockdown happened last year, I quickly realized, wow, this is the time to focus. So I focused, and we have developed a lot more, quite a lot of new products. We've had a really exciting time doing that. We've been going to see new manufacturers and very, very interesting manufacturers. We finally have a team of people. We have a new office opening next month. So I've made lockdown work for me when we've made it work as a company. I have a very small team who many have been with me for a long time, and 3 of those guys are on board with us, and it's actually been incredibly exciting. We've been doing it all from my kitchen table, and we are all really chomping at the bit to move forward. You know, it's so the next few years is going to be a whole other adventure for me and my team.
Are you open, or are we able to learn a little bit about what the company is and the product lines to share for our listeners?
No, not yet. All we're doing, it's a bit early. This is the first time I'm saying this.
Okay.
So we will, all will be revealed in the next few months.
So exciting.
Perfect. That's very exciting. So I just want to say that you heard it here first. Sam Mcknight is coming out with something truly exciting. You heard it here first. I mean, you got to follow him to get the details, but at least you know that something great is coming.
Oh, there is.
So Sam, for the benefit of our listeners, please share your socials, your websites, any information also, you know, so they can follow this journey and what's expected to come in the next few months. Where can they get all that? Where can they get all your information? Where can they find you online and follow you?
Well, we're working on a new website, and that will be sammcknight.com. It's up and running now, but it's very basic. But
Sure.
that will be a whole new thing. Don't worry. My personal Instagram account is Sam Mcknight1, the number 1, and the brand website, which is full of hairy stuff, which is kind of great, is Hair by Sam Mcknight, and that's on Instagram and on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
I was gonna say, hold on.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get actual Sam Mcknight videos on TikTok too?
Oh, I don't know, but you know what? I'm game for anything. So watch this space. Yes, I am trying. I haven't figured it out yet.
I'm looking forward to Sam Mcknight competing in some of those dance challenges that we see.
You may not see that, but you may see other things. But you know what? Never say never.
Well, that's just it, right? Sometimes it's just fun. Like sometimes you just
absolutely never say never.
That's it. Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us.
Thank you.
Share your story. I mean, this is phenomenal to learn from a legend who's still in the game and also has accomplished so much. It's really truly a pleasure or an honor on our end.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. And to our listeners, thank you for joining in. This is Elevated Grapes on Ruckus Avenue Radio and -radio.com. We will see you next week. Hey guys, thank you for watching that podcast or that video. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of us and see some of our behind the scenes stuff, subscribe below.
Yes, hit that little red, button thingy that's over there and hit subscribe and keep following us for a lot more cool, fun stuff.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Hey, what's up, everyone? I am your host, Sethi.
I am stylist Rashi Bindra.
Elevated Grapes is a digital media hub that includes a talk show, event correspondence, and digital hosting for partner projects.
The talk show which you are listening to or watching, depending what you're doing, covers topics in fashion, business, and lifestyle.
We regularly have incredible guests that share their stories, their experiences, and tips on the above topics.
And when we don't, you get to hear how we talk to each other off air.
So subscribe to your favorite streaming site, YouTube, and Instagram for behind the scenes and additional visual content.
Let's jump right into the show. Welcome to Elevated Grapes.